She shouldn't have worn the good blouse. Alyssa Grant stood outside the glass tower on Wilshire Boulevard, staring up at the 43 floors of polished steel and tinted windows that housed Rowe Capital Management. The building didn't look real. It looked like something out of a movie about people whose problems she couldn't imagine having. Her phone buzzed. Her mama. "First day, baby. Ah, you got this, love you." Alyssa typed back a heart emoji, slipped the phone into her bag, the one she'd bought at Target specifically for this job because her regular purse had a broken zipper, and pushed through the revolving doors. The lobby smelled like expensive nothing. That's what money smelled like, she was learning. Like air that had been filtered so many times it forgot it used to be regular air. The marble floor was so shiny she could see her reflection, and for a second she checked her edges. Still good. The twist-out had held overnight, thank God, because she'd been too nervous to sleep and had spent 2 hours making sure every section was perfect. 27 years old, and this was it. The break she'd been working toward since graduating from Cal State LA, with loans that made her chest tight every time she thought about them. Junior analyst, Rowe Capital Management, starting salary that made her mama cry when Alyssa told her. "Miss Grant?" A white woman in her 50s, blonde hair pulled back so tight it looked painful, stood by the security desk. Clipboard, pearls. The kind of smile that didn't reach anywhere near her eyes. "That's me. I'm Helen. I'll be showing you to HR. You'll need this." She handed over a temporary badge on a lanyard. "Don't lose it. Replacements take 3 weeks." The elevator ride to the 32nd floor was silent, except for the mechanical hum and Helen's breathing, which sounded irritated, like Alyssa had personally inconvenienced her by existing. Alyssa focused on the numbers climbing, tried not to think about how the elevator probably cost more than her car. HR was a blur of paperwork, and a woman named Patricia, who talked fast and smiled less. Benefits, policies, dress code, business professional, no exceptions. Alyssa nodded along, signing where Patricia pointed, her hand cramping by the 5th form. "Your desk is on 37, Patricia said, not looking up from her computer. "Report to Michael Owen. He's your direct supervisor." Helen walked her to another elevator. Different floor. Same uncomfortable silence. The 37th floor was open concept. Rows of desks separated by low dividers. Floor-to-ceiling windows on 3 sides, showing Los Angeles sprawled out below like somebody had spilled a city. The marine layer hadn't burned off yet, everything hazy and grey. Alyssa could see all the way to the hills. "Grant?" A man in his early 40s wearing a shirt so crisp it looked like it had been ironed that morning, stood by one of the desks near the windows. His tie was perfectly knotted. His hair was perfectly combed. Everything about him screamed, "I have my life together and you probably don't." "Michael Owen, you'll be working under me on the Meridian portfolio." He gestured to the empty desk, the one without family photos or personal items, the one that looked like nobody had ever sat there. "This is you." "Thank you. I'm really excited to—" "We'll see." He handed her a folder thick enough to be a textbook. "Quarterly reports. I need a comparative analysis by Thursday. Any questions? Ask Jennifer." He pointed to a woman 2 desks over who looked up, gave a tight smile, and went back to her screen. Michael walked away. Alyssa sat down. The chair squeaked. She adjusted it, tried again. Still squeaked. The desk was standard. Computer, keyboard, mouse, phone she didn't know how to use yet. A drawer that was empty except for a single paper clip. She set down her bag, pulled out a pen, opened the folder. Numbers, pages and pages of numbers. She could do this. She'd done harder things. College while working 2 jobs. Internships where she was the only black woman in the room. That presentation last year where she'd nailed every slide, even though her hands wouldn't stop shaking. This was just numbers. Her phone buzzed again. Her best friend Simone. "How's corporate America treating you?" Alyssa glanced around. Nobody was looking at her. Everyone was focused on their screens, typing, clicking, existing in their own bubbles of productivity. "Ask me in a week," she typed back. The morning crawled. She read reports until her eyes hurt, took notes until her hand cramped again, and tried not to think about how the coffee from the break room tasted like it had been sitting in the pot since yesterday. At noon, Jennifer finally acknowledged her existence. You can take lunch at your desk or in the break room. Most people eat at their desks. Got it. Thanks. Alyssa had packed a sandwich, turkey and avocado on whole wheat, the same thing she'd been eating for lunch since she started budgeting seriously 3 years ago. She ate it at her desk, scrolling through emails she didn't understand yet, trying to decode the corporate language that made everything sound important and nothing sound clear. Per my last email. Let's circle back. Synergy. At 2:30, her computer pinged. A meeting invite, conference room B, 3 o'clock. Subject Meridian Portfolio Review. Her stomach dropped. She hadn't finished the analysis, hadn't even gotten halfway through. Thursday was 3 days away, and they were reviewing it now. She grabbed the folder, her notebook, a pen that was running out of ink, and headed to conference room B, which turned out to be on the 40th floor. Another elevator ride, more numbers climbing. The conference room had a table that looked like it cost more than her car and her student loans combined. Floor-to-ceiling windows. A view of downtown LA that would have been breathtaking if Alyssa hadn't been too nervous to breathe. Michael was already there, so was Jennifer, and 3 other people she didn't recognize. And at the head of the table, looking at his phone like it was more interesting than any human being in the room, was Sebastian Rowe. Alyssa had seen him in photos. Company website, LinkedIn, the business section of the LA Times. But in person he was taller, broader, the kind of presence that made the room feel smaller. He was 39. She knew from the Forbes profile she'd read the night before. Dark hair starting to grey at the temples. Sharp jaw. Eyes so blue they looked unreal. He wore a suit that probably cost more than her rent, and when he finally looked up from his phone, his gaze swept the room and landed on her for exactly 2 seconds before moving on. She wasn't worth 3. Let's start. His voice was flat. No warmth, no introduction. Meridian's Q3 performance is underperforming projections by 7%. I want to know why, and I want to know what we're doing about it. Michael opened his laptop. We've identified 3 primary factors. The meeting was technical, fast, brutal. Michael presented data. Jennifer added context. Sebastian asked questions that felt like traps, and every answer seemed wrong even when it was right. Alyssa took notes, tried to follow, felt herself drowning in jargon and projections and fiscal terminology she'd learned in school, but never heard spoken this fast, this cold. Grant. She looked up. Sebastian was looking at her, actually looking, not through her. You're new. Yes, sir. First day. What do you think? The room went silent. Her mouth was dry. I haven't finished my analysis yet. I'm not asking for your analysis. I'm asking what you think. She glanced at Michael. He gave her nothing. Jennifer was staring at her laptop. I think, she swallowed. I think 7% variance in a volatile quarter isn't catastrophic if the fundamentals are sound. And are they? I don't know yet. Something changed in his expression. Not a smile, not approval, just something. Honest. He looked back at Michael. Make sure she finishes that analysis by Wednesday. I want to see it. The meeting ended 10 minutes later. Alyssa walked out feeling like she'd just survived something, but she wasn't sure what. Back at her desk, she opened the folder again. The numbers looked different now. Sharper. More urgent. Wednesday. Not Thursday. She pulled up the first report and started reading for real this time, taking notes that actually made sense, cross-referencing data points until patterns started emerging. The office emptied around her. 6 o'clock became 7, became 8. Her phone buzzed. You still alive? Simone. Barely. Want me to bring food? I'm good. Almost done. She wasn't almost done. She was maybe a quarter done, but she'd figure it out. At 9:30, her computer screen started blurring. She blinked, rubbed her eyes. The twist-out had completely given up, pieces of hair falling across her face. She twisted them back, kept reading. At 10, Michael walked by, stopped. You're still here. Working on the analysis. He looked at her screen, at her notes, at the empty coffee cup from this afternoon. It's your first day. I know. Go home, Grant. You're no good to me exhausted. She wanted to argue, wanted to prove she could handle it, but her eyes were burning and her back hurt, and she'd been sitting for so long her legs felt numb. Okay. She saved her work, shut down her computer, grabbed her bag. The building was quieter now, just the hum of the AC and her footsteps on the marble floor. The security guard at the front desk nodded as she passed. Outside, the air was cool. The marine layer had rolled back in, making everything damp and grey. She walked to her car, a 2015 Honda Civic with a dent in the passenger door and a check engine light that had been on for 6 months, unlocked it, sat in the driver's seat. Her phone showed 3 missed calls from her mama and 2 texts from Simone. She didn't call back. Just sat there, hands on the steering wheel, staring at the building where she'd spent the last 14 hours trying to prove she belonged. The ignition turned over on the 3rd try. Traffic on the 10 was light. She made it back to her apartment in Inglewood in 20 minutes, parked on the street because her complex's lot was full, climbed the stairs to the 2nd floor. Her apartment was small, 1 bedroom, kitchen barely big enough to turn around in. But it was hers. She'd found it 2 years ago and had been paying rent on time every month since, even when it meant eating ramen for a week. She dropped her bag by the door, kicked off her shoes. The good blouse had a coffee stain near the collar she hadn't noticed until now. Her phone buzzed again. How was it? Her mama. Good, she typed. Really good. She microwaved leftovers from Sunday, her mama's spaghetti, the kind with the turkey meat and too much oregano. Latte standing up, washed the fork, left it in the rack to dry. In the bathroom, she looked at herself in the mirror. The twist-out was done. Her edges needed touch-up. The cocoa butter she'd used this morning had worn off hours ago. She looked tired, but she'd survived. Her bed felt like heaven. She set an alarm for 5:30, plugged in her phone, closed her eyes, and dreamed about numbers that didn't add up, and a man with blue eyes who looked at her like she was already gone. The alarm went off. The analysis was wrong. Alyssa stared at her screen, the numbers blurring together like they were mocking her. Wednesday afternoon. She'd been at this since Monday morning, cross-referencing data, building models, checking her work twice, then 3 times. And somewhere between the Q2 projections and the Q3 actuals, she'd miscalculated. Not by much. A decimal point. A transposed figure in column J that threw off the entire bottom section. But enough. Her chest felt tight. The kind of tight that made it hard to breathe right, like the air in the office had gotten thinner. Around her, people typed and talked on phones and existed in their bubbles of competence. Jennifer was on a call 2 desks over, laughing at something. Michael was in a meeting on 41. Nobody knew yet. She could fix it, had time. The presentation wasn't until tomorrow morning, and she'd already found the error, so really it was just a matter of... Grant. She looked up. Michael stood there, arms crossed, expression unreadable. You done? Almost, I'm just... Ro wants to see it. Now. Her stomach dropped. Now? But the meeting's tomorrow. He moved it up. Conference room A, 10 minutes. He walked away before she could respond. 10 minutes. Alyssa looked at her screen. At the error sitting there in cell J47 like a bomb waiting to go off. She could print it as is. Present the flawed analysis and hope nobody noticed until after, when she could claim a simple oversight, easily corrected. Or she could tell the truth right now and look incompetent on day 3. Her phone buzzed. Simone. Lunch. Not today. She saved the file, grabbed her notebook and headed to the elevator. Her hands were shaking. She pressed them flat against her thighs, tried to steady her breathing. The good blouse from yesterday had a stain, so she'd worn the black one today. Professional. Safe. The edges she'd laid last night were already starting to frizz in the LA heat that somehow made it all the way to the 37th floor. Conference room A was bigger than B. More windows, better view. The kind of room where important decisions got made by people who'd never worried about a check engine light. Sebastian was already there, standing by the windows, looking out at the city like he owned it. Which, in a way, he probably did. Parts of it, anyway. Michael sat at the table, Jennifer, 2 other analysts she'd seen around but never met. Alyssa took the empty seat at the far end, set down her notebook, waited. Sebastian turned, looked at her, those blue eyes that didn't miss anything. You have something for me? Not a question. Yes, sir. The meridian analysis. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. But I need to... Let's see it. She opened her notebook. The pages were covered in her handwriting, notes and calculations, and arrows connecting ideas. She'd meant to type it all up clean, make it look professional, but there hadn't been time. The 7% variance you asked about, I tracked it to 3 primary factors. She flipped a page. First, the commercial real estate exposure in Q3. Second, the bond yield compression that started in August. And third, she stopped. Third? Sebastian sat down at the head of the table, didn't look away from her. There's an error in my calculations. The words came out fast, like ripping off a bandage. In the derivatives section, I transposed 2 figures and it threw off the risk assessment by 0.3%. Silence. Michael's jaw tightened. Jennifer looked at her laptop like it was suddenly fascinating. Show me, Sebastian said. Alyssa slid her notebook across the table. He picked it up, scanned the page, his expression giving nothing away. The room felt smaller, hotter. The AC hummed above them, recycling the same air over and over. You found this when? He asked. 20 minutes ago. And you're telling me now instead of fixing it and hoping I wouldn't notice? Yes, sir. He set down the notebook, looked at her for a long moment, then at Michael. How long has she been here? 3 days, Michael said quietly. 3 days. Sebastian leaned back in his chair. And she's already presenting flawed analysis. I take full responsibility, Alyssa said. Her voice didn't shake this time. I should have caught it earlier. I didn't. That's on me. It is. He stood, walked to the windows again. Michael, finish the analysis. Have it on my desk by end of day. Grant my office now. Her chest went tight again. The walk to his office felt like a march. Down the hall, past the executive assistants who didn't look up, through the double doors into a space that was all glass and leather, and that same expensive nothing smell from the lobby. Sebastian closed the door, gestured to one of the chairs facing his desk. Alyssa sat. He didn't. Do you know how much money we manage? He asked. 47 billion. 47.3. You know what happens when we make mistakes? People lose money. People lose everything. He turned to face her. Their retirements, their kids' college funds, their ability to retire at all. So when I hire someone, I need to know they won't make careless errors that cost other people their lives. It wasn't careless. What was it then? I was rushing. You moved up the meeting and I panicked and I should have asked for more time, but I didn't want to seem... She stopped, took a breath. I messed up. You did. The silence stretched. Outside the windows, LA sprawled out below them, indifferent and enormous. I had my assistant pull your file, Sebastian said. Cal State LA, 3.7 GPA, Dean's List. Internship at Morrison & Webb, strong recommendations. He sat on the edge of his desk. You know what else I saw? She shook her head. Someone who worked 2 jobs to pay for school. Someone who graduated with 60,000 in loans. Someone who's been trying to prove herself since the moment she walked in here. Alyssa's throat felt tight. I don't need you to prove yourself, Grant. I need you to be accurate, and right now, you're not. Give me another chance, she said. I'll fix it. I'll redo the entire analysis. I'm letting you go. The words hit like cold water. What? Effective immediately. HR will process your termination paperwork. You'll receive 2 weeks severance. You're firing me for one mistake? For a mistake that could have cost us millions if it had gone unnoticed, yes. She stood. Her legs felt unsteady. I was honest. I told you about the error instead of hiding it. And I appreciate that. But honesty doesn't fix bad work. He walked to the door, opened it. I'm sorry. He wasn't. Alyssa walked out, past the assistants, past Michael, who wouldn't meet her eyes, past Jennifer, who looked almost relieved. She made it to her desk, grabbed her bag, the empty drawer with the single paper clip. Someone had already logged her out of the computer. The elevator ride down felt longer than the ride up. The lobby was just as shiny, just as indifferent. The security guard took her temporary badge without a word. Outside, the air was thick with that LA smog that sat in your lungs. The marine layer had burned off, leaving everything bright and harsh. She walked to her car, got in, closed the door, sat there. Her phone buzzed. Simone, still on for lunch. Alyssa stared at the message, at the building behind her, at the people walking in and out. All of them employed, all of them belonging to a world she'd just been kicked out of. She started typing, stopped, started again. Can you come over tonight? What happened? I'll tell you later. She turned the key. The engine caught on the second try. The 10 was packed, rush hour starting early. She merged into traffic, hands tight on the wheel, eyes burning in a way that had nothing to do with the smog. Her mama called. She didn't answer. Simone called. She let it ring. By the time she pulled into her apartment complex in Inglewood, the sun was starting to set, turning everything orange and gold, like the world was on fire. She climbed the stairs, unlocked her door, dropped her bag. The apartment was exactly how she'd left it. Small. Hers. Not enough anymore. Her phone lit up on the counter. A notification from LinkedIn. Sebastian Rowe viewed your profile. She stared at it. Then she turned off her phone. Simone showed up with wine and fried chicken from Roscoe's. I figured, she said, walking past Alyssa into the apartment. She set the bag on the kitchen counter, pulled out plates like she lived there. Which, honestly, she basically did. They'd been friends since sophomore year at Cal State, roommates for 3 of those years, and even though Simone had her own place now in Ladera Heights, she still had a key to Alyssa's. You didn't have to... Girl, sit down. Simone pointed at the couch. And tell me what happened. Alyssa sat. The couch was second-hand, bought off Craigslist 2 years ago from a couple in Culver City who were moving to Portland. It sagged in the middle, and one of the cushions had a stain she'd never been able to get out, but it was comfortable, familiar. Simone handed her a plate, chicken, mac and cheese, greens that still had the steam coming off them. I got fired, Alyssa said. I know that part. You said that in the text. I mean, what happened? I made a mistake, small one, in an analysis, and he... She stopped, took a breath. He didn't even hesitate, just said I was done and that was it. After 3 days? 3 days. Simone set down her fork. That's messed up. I should have caught the error earlier. I should have asked for more time when he moved up the meeting. I should have... Stop. Simone reached over, grabbed her hand. You're doing that thing where you blame yourself for other people being trash. He wasn't trash. He was right. I messed up. You're human. Humans mess up. That's why there's editing and revisions and second chances. She picked up her wine glass. This Sebastian Rowe guy sounds like he's got a stick so far up his... He manages $47 billion. So, that doesn't give him the right to treat people like they're disposable. Alyssa looked at her plate. The chicken was perfect, crispy skin, meat falling off the bone. Her mama would have approved, but she couldn't eat. Her stomach felt like it had tied itself in knots. What are you going to do? Simone asked. I don't know. Look for something else, I guess. Update my resume. Start applying. You just got that job. And I just lost it. Alyssa set down her plate. I can't afford to be unemployed, not with rent and loans and... She stopped. The math was already happening in her head. Savings that would last maybe 2 months if she was careful. 3 if she stopped eating anything that wasn't rice and beans. You'll find something, Simone said. But her voice had that edge to it. The one that meant she was worried but trying not to show it. They ate in silence for a while. Outside, somebody's car alarm went off, then stopped, then started again. You know what you need, Simone said finally. A time machine? A night out. Get dressed. Put on something that makes you feel hot. We're going dancing. I'm not really in the mood. I don't care. You're not sitting here feeling sorry for yourself. Not tonight. She stood, grabbed Alyssa's hand. Come on, that red dress you bought for your cousin's wedding. The one you never wear because you say it's too much. It is too much. Perfect. Go put it on. 20 minutes later, Alyssa stood in front of her bathroom mirror wearing the red dress and feeling ridiculous. It was too tight, too short, too everything. The kind of dress that demanded confidence she didn't have right now. You look amazing, Simone said from the doorway. I look desperate. You look like somebody who knows her worth. Simone grabbed her hand again. Let's go. The club was in West Hollywood, one of those places with a line out front and a bouncer who looked bored and a cover charge that made Alyssa wince. But Simone knew somebody who knew somebody, and they got in without waiting. Inside, the music was loud enough to feel in her chest. Lights strobed across the dance floor. People everywhere, dancing, drinking, laughing like they didn't have jobs to lose or bills to pay. Drinks first, Simone yelled over the music. They made their way to the bar. Simone ordered 2 vodka cranberries. Alyssa drank hers faster than she should have, the alcohol burning down her throat and settling warm in her stomach. Better? Simone asked. Getting there. The second drink helped more. By the third, Alyssa felt the knots in her stomach starting to loosen. The music shifted to something with a bass line that made her hips move without thinking about it. Dance floor, Simone said. Now. They pushed through the crowd, found space near the DJ booth where the speakers were loudest and the lights were brightest. Simone started moving and Alyssa followed, letting the music take over. Let herself forget about Sebastian Rowe and his blue eyes and the way he'd said I'm sorry like it meant nothing. A guy approached, tall, white, nice smile. He said something Alyssa couldn't hear over the music. What? She yelled. He leaned closer. Can I buy you a drink? She almost said no, almost walked away. But Simone was watching, and the vodka was warm in her system, and she was tired of feeling small. Sure. His name was Aaron. He worked in marketing, lived in Santa Monica, had a sister in San Diego, and a dog named Cooper. He talked a lot, but he was nice about it. Asked questions, laughed at her jokes, bought her another drink when hers was empty. You're a good dancer, he said. Thanks. Want to dance more? They went back to the floor. Aaron wasn't great. Too much arm movement, not enough rhythm, but he was trying, and there was something nice about being noticed, about being wanted. They danced through 3 songs, then 4. Alyssa felt herself relaxing, felt herself smiling for the first time in days. And then she saw him, Sebastian Rowe, standing near the VIP section. Dark suit, no tie, talking to someone she couldn't see. He looked different here, less untouchable. More. He turned, saw her. Their eyes met across the crowded dance floor. Alyssa's breath caught. Aaron said something she didn't hear. The music got louder, or maybe quieter. She couldn't tell. Sebastian's expression changed. Something flickered in those blue eyes. Surprise, maybe, or recognition. Then his jaw tightened. He looked at Aaron's hand on her waist, at the way they were standing close, the way people stand when they're dancing, when they're interested. You okay? Aaron asked. Yeah, I'm good. She turned back to him, forced a smile. Let's keep dancing. But she could feel Sebastian watching, could feel the weight of his gaze like heat on her skin. Aaron pulled her closer. She let him spin her, let him dip her low enough that her hair brushed the floor. When she came back up, Sebastian was gone. The rest of the night blurred. More dancing, more drinks. Aaron asked for her number. She gave it to him, even though she knew she wouldn't answer when he called. At 2 a.m., Simone called an Uber. They rode back to Inglewood in silence, Alyssa's head against the window, watching LA scroll past in streaks of light. Did you have fun? Simone asked. Yeah, you're lying. I know. Back in her apartment, Alyssa kicked off her heels. The red dress felt too tight now, suffocating. She changed into an old t-shirt and shorts, washed off her makeup, pulled her hair into a ponytail. Her phone buzzed. A text from a number she didn't recognize. You looked happy tonight. She stared at the message, then at the number, then back at the message. There was no signature, but she knew who it was from. She didn't respond. Outside, the city hummed. Traffic on La Brea, a helicopter somewhere in the distance, the usual sounds of Los Angeles at night. Alyssa turned off her phone and went to bed. Sebastian stared at his phone. 3 days since the club. 3 days since he'd sent that text. 3 days of nothing. You looked happy tonight. What the hell had he been thinking? He set down the phone, picked up his coffee. It had gone cold while he'd been sitting in his office pretending to review the Morrison account. The sun was coming through the windows at that angle that meant it was past 10. His assistant had knocked twice. He'd told her both times he was busy. He wasn't busy, he was stuck. "You good?" Sebastian looked up. His COO, Marcus Reed, stood in the doorway. Black guy, early 50s, sharp as they came. They'd known each other since business school, back when Sebastian was trying to prove he was more than his father's money, and Marcus was trying to prove he belonged in rooms full of legacy admits. "Fine. You've been staring at that coffee for 20 minutes. Marcus walked in, closed the door. "Talk." "There's nothing to talk about." "Right. That's why you fired the new analyst after 3 days and have been useless ever since." Sebastian set down his mug. "She made an error that could have cost us—" "I read the report. It was a decimal point, in a preliminary analysis, that she caught herself." Marcus sat in one of the chairs facing the desk. "You've let bigger mistakes slide." "Not from new hires." "Bullshit." Marcus leaned back. "What's really going on?" Sebastian didn't answer. Outside, LA sprawled out below them. The 405 was already backing up, always something on the 405. "I saw her," he said finally. "At Elevate, Saturday night." "And?" "She was with someone, dancing, happy." He paused. "She looked different." "Different how?" "Like she wasn't carrying anything, like she'd already moved on." Marcus was quiet for a moment. Then he laughed. Not loud, just enough to make his point. "Man, you're an idiot." "Excuse me. You fire a woman for being honest about a mistake, then get jealous when she goes out and has a good time?" Marcus shook his head. "That's textbook." "I'm not jealous." "You texted her. I was checking in. At 2 a.m. after watching her dance with another man." Marcus stood. "Listen, I don't know what this is. But you need to figure it out. Because whatever you're doing right now, this isn't you." He left. The door clicked shut. Sebastian picked up his phone again. No new messages. He pulled up her number. The text he'd sent still sitting there, unanswered. He should delete it. Forget about Alyssa Grant and her twist-out that never quite stayed, and the way she'd looked at him in the conference room, like she was scared, but standing her ground anyway. He opened his laptop instead, pulled up her file, the one HR had sent over when they'd processed her termination. Alyssa Marie Grant, 27, bachelor's in finance from Cal State LA, 3.7 GPA, student loans that made his quarterly car payment look like pocket change, apartment in Inglewood, no family money, no connections, just grades and determination and references that all said the same thing, works harder than anyone else. He'd let her go. The decision had made sense at the time, standard policy, no room for error, the same rule he applied to everyone, except he didn't, did he? Last year, Bradley from Acquisitions had missed a filing deadline that cost them 3 weeks and 20 grand in penalties. Sebastian had given him a warning. 2 months ago, Jennifer had presented projections that were off by 4%. He'd told her to be more careful next time. Alyssa had caught her own mistake, had been honest about it, had stood in his office and taken responsibility without making excuses, and he'd fired her anyway. His phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Stop thinking about her." He frowned, replied, "Who is this?" "Marcus gave me your number. I'm Simone, Alyssa's best friend, and you need to leave her alone." Sebastian stared at the message, started typing, stopped, tried again. "I wasn't." "Yes, you were." "That text at 2 a.m.? Creepy. She's been through enough, let her move on." I wanted to apologize, then actually apologize. Not with some weird cryptic text, like a human being. The messages stopped. Sebastian set down his phone, looked at the coffee that was definitely cold now, at the Morrison account still open on his screen, at the city outside his window. He stood, grabbed his jacket. Walked past his assistant before she could ask where he was going. The elevator ride down felt longer than usual. In the parking garage, his car, a black Tesla that still had that new car smell even though he'd bought it 8 months ago, sat in its reserved spot near the exit. He got in, started driving. No destination, just needed to move. He ended up in Inglewood. Didn't mean to. Hadn't planned it. But somewhere between Wilshire and La Brea he'd made a turn and then another, and now he was pulling up to an apartment complex that matched the address in Alyssa's file. This was insane, inappropriate, potentially illegal. He parked anyway. The complex was old. 2 stories, beige stucco that needed repainting. A few cars in the lot with dents and dings and check engine lights probably on. Nothing like the high-rises downtown where Sebastian lived, where doormen knew your name and packages got delivered to your door. He sat in his car, watched the 2nd floor, tried to remember which unit number he'd seen in the file. 2B, 2nd floor, left side. There was a light on in the window. What was he doing? This wasn't him. He didn't chase people, didn't show up unannounced, didn't let feelings, if that's what these were, dictate his decisions. His phone buzzed again. Simone. If you're sitting outside her apartment right now, I swear to God, how did she... I can see your car from my place. You're not as subtle as you think. Sebastian looked around. Across the street, a woman stood on a balcony. Black woman about Alyssa's age, arms crossed, staring directly at him. His phone buzzed. Leave. Now. Or I'm calling the cops. He started the car, pulled out of the lot, drove back toward West LA with his hands tight on the wheel and his chest feeling hollow. Back at his condo, he poured a scotch, neat, expensive, the kind his father used to drink while talking about legacy and responsibility and how the Rowe name meant something. Sebastian had built this company from his father's money, yeah, but he'd built it into something bigger, better, more respected. He'd worked 18-hour days, missed holidays, ended a marriage because his ex-wife said she was tired of coming second to spreadsheets. And for what? So he could fire good people over decimal points and then sit in his $1 million condo drinking his dead father's scotch while trying to figure out why he couldn't stop thinking about a woman who wouldn't even text him back. His phone sat on the counter. Silent. He picked it up, opened a new message, typed. I'm sorry for firing you, for the text, for showing up at your apartment. I was wrong. About all of it. He hit send before he could change his mind. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, don't contact me again. Sebastian stared at the message, then at the scotch, then at the city lights spreading out below his window, like proof that the world kept turning whether you fixed your mistakes or not. He finished his drink. The coffee shop on Crenshaw had terrible Wi-Fi and decent coffee, which was all Alyssa needed. She'd been coming here every morning for 2 weeks. Same table in the corner, same order, medium drip, no room for cream, same laptop that took 3 tries to boot up and made a wheezing sound that probably meant something expensive was about to break. Job applications, cover letters, networking emails to people she barely knew who probably wouldn't remember her. Dear hiring manager, I am writing to express my interest in... Delete. To whom it may concern, I believe my experience in... Delete. Her phone buzzed. Simone. Any luck? Not yet. Hang in there. Alyssa set down her phone, stared at the blank document on her screen. The cursor blinked at her like it was mocking her inability to write a single decent sentence about why someone should hire her after being fired from her last job in 3 days. Is this seat taken? She looked up. A woman stood there. Black, maybe early 30s, natural hair in a high puff, wearing scrubs that said she'd just come from or was about to go to a shift somewhere. No, go ahead. The woman sat, pulled out her phone, started scrolling. Alyssa went back to her laptop. 5 minutes passed. You're applying for jobs, the woman said. Not a question. Alyssa glanced over. How do you know? I've seen that face before, on myself, about 6 months ago. She extended her hand. Naomi. Alyssa. What field? Finance. Was working at Rowe Capital for about 2 seconds. Naomi's eyebrows went up. Rowe Capital, girl, what happened? Made a mistake, small one. Got fired. After how long? 3 days. Damn. Naomi shook her head. That's cold. Yeah, well. Alyssa closed her laptop. I should have known better. You should have been given a chance. Naomi took a sip of her coffee. I got let go from County USC last year. Budget cuts, they said. Really, it was because I called out a doctor who was cutting corners. But whatever. Spent 4 months looking before I found something else. 4 months? Felt like 4 years, but I'm at Cedars now. Better pay, better hours, better everything. She paused. It gets better. I know that sounds like something people say when they don't know what else to say, but it does. Alyssa wanted to believe her, wanted to feel something other than this hollow thing that had taken up residence in her chest since the day Sebastian fired her. Thanks, she said. Naomi stood. Good luck. For real. She left. Alyssa reopened her laptop. The blank document was still blank. Her phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Simone. Sebastian Rowe would like to connect with you on LinkedIn. Alyssa stared at the notification. Then she laughed, not because it was funny, because it was absurd. He'd fired her, texted her at 2 a.m., showed up at her apartment. And now he wanted to connect professionally? She declined the request, closed LinkedIn, opened Indeed, started scrolling through listings that all required 3 to 5 years of experience for entry-level positions that paid barely enough to cover rent. Her mama called. Hey, baby, just checking in. I'm good, mama. You find anything yet? Not yet, but I'm looking. You know your cousin Tasha's husband works at that investment place downtown. I could ask if... I'm good, really. Her mama was quiet for a second. You eating? Yes. You lying? Maybe a little. Alyssa Marie. I had coffee. That counts. No, it doesn't. I'm bringing you food tonight. Don't argue. The call ended. Alyssa smiled despite herself. Her mama was going to show up with enough food to last a week and wasn't going to leave until Alyssa ate at least 2 plates in front of her. The coffee shop started filling up. Lunch rush, she should leave. Give up her table to someone who'd actually buy food. But she didn't want to go back to her apartment, where the walls felt like they were closing in and the silence was too loud. She stayed. Ordered another coffee she didn't need. Opened a new application. Morrison & Webb Financial Services is seeking a junior analyst. She'd interned there 2 years ago. Knew the culture, knew the people. Had a good relationship with her supervisor. She started writing. Dear Ms. Patterson, I hope this email finds you well. I'm reaching out regarding the junior analyst position. The words came easier this time, maybe because she wasn't starting from scratch. Maybe because she actually knew what she was talking about for once. She finished the application, read it 3 times, fixed a typo, read it again, hit submit before she could overthink it. Her phone buzzed immediately. Auto-reply from Morrison & Webb, thanking her for her interest. Better than nothing. She closed her laptop, finished her coffee. Left a tip even though she couldn't really afford to. Outside, the afternoon sun was doing that thing where it made everything look washed out and tired. Her car was parked down the block, and when she got in, the steering wheel was hot enough to burn. The drive back to Inglewood took 40 minutes. Traffic on La Brea was backed up because of construction that had been going on for 6 months with no end in sight. At home, she changed into shorts and an old Cal State t-shirt, sat on her couch, turned on the TV, some reality show about people whose problems definitely weren't unemployment and student loans. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. This is Marcus Reed, COO at Rowe Capital. Do you have a few minutes to talk? Alyssa's stomach dropped. She stared at the message, reread it, started typing, stopped. What did he want? Was this about Sebastian? About the analysis she'd messed up? She should ignore it. Block the number. Move on with her life. She called instead. He answered on the second ring. Ms. Grant, thanks for calling back. What is this about? I'll be direct. Sebastian made a mistake letting you go. I've reviewed your work. I've talked to Michael. You caught your own error and reported it. That shows integrity. Okay? I'd like to offer you your position back. Same role, better terms. And I'll be your direct supervisor, not Michael. Alyssa sat up. Why? Because you're good at what you do. And because this company needs people who are honest, not just people who are perfect. Does Sebastian know about this? Marcus paused. He knows, and for what it's worth, it was his idea. I don't... She stopped, took a breath. I need to think about it. Of course. Take your time. Here's my direct number. Call me when you decide. The call ended. Alyssa sat there, phone in her hand, trying to process what had just happened. Sebastian wanted her back, or Marcus did, or someone felt guilty. She didn't know what to feel, angry, relieved, suspicious. Outside, a car alarm started, then stopped. The sun was setting, turning her living room orange. Her mama would tell her to take the job. Simone would tell her to tell them where to go. Naomi from the coffee shop would probably say something wise about trusting your gut. Alyssa looked at Marcus's number on her screen. She didn't call back, not yet. Alyssa called Marcus on Friday. 3 days of thinking, 3 days of Simone telling her she was crazy if she went back, 3 days of her mama saying sometimes pride costs more than it's worth. I'll take the job, she said, but I have conditions. I'm listening. I report to you, not Michael, not Sebastian. And if there's an issue with my work, we discuss it, like adults, before any decisions get made. Agreed. And I want it in writing, all of it. I'll have HR send over a new contract by Monday. Marcus paused. You're making the right call. We'll see. She hung up. Sat on her couch staring at her phone like it might tell her whether she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life or the smartest decision. Monday morning felt like starting over. Same building on Wilshire, same revolving doors, same lobby that smelled like expensive nothing. But this time when she walked to the security desk, the guard already had her permanent badge ready. Welcome back, Ms. Grant. The elevator ride to 37 felt different, longer. She counted the floors, watched the numbers climb, tried to steady her breathing. The doors opened. Michael was at his desk. He looked up when she walked past, didn't say anything. Just nodded once and went back to his screen. Jennifer gave her a tight smile. Glad you're back. Her desk was exactly how she'd left it. Empty drawer, computer that took 3 tries to log in, chair that still squeaked. Alyssa. She turned. Marcus stood there, coffee in hand, looking more relaxed than anyone at this company had a right to look at 8 in the morning. My office, whenever you're settled. His office was on 40 Corner View, almost as nice as Sebastian's but without the intimidation factor. Photos on the desk. Wife, 2 kids, a dog that looked like a golden retriever mix. Diplomas on the wall from Stanford and Wharton. Sit, he gestured to the chairs. Coffee? I'm good. Right. Let's talk about your role. He pulled up something on his laptop. You'll be working on the Callahan portfolio. Commercial real estate, mostly West Coast properties. I need a full risk assessment by end of month. That's 3 weeks. Think you can handle it? Yes. Good. Because I'm not gonna hover. You mess up, we talk about it. You do good work, I'll make sure people know. He closed the laptop. Questions? Why'd you really bring me back? Marcus leaned back in his chair. Honestly, because Sebastian's been useless since he fired you, and because I read your work. The analysis with the error, the one he fired you over, I had Jennifer run the same numbers. She made 3 mistakes, didn't catch any of them. Alyssa didn't know what to say to that. You earned this, Marcus said. Don't forget it. She spent the rest of the morning reviewing the Callahan portfolio. Properties in Sacramento, San Diego, Oakland. Strip malls and office parks and apartment complexes. Numbers that actually made sense when she looked at them long enough. At noon, she went to the break room for coffee. The pot was half full. The coffee tasted burnt, same as before. She poured a cup anyway. Welcome back. She turned. Sebastian stood in the doorway. Her chest tightened. She hadn't seen him since everything. He looked the same. Dark suit, blue eyes, that jaw that probably cost a fortune in genetics. Thanks, she said. Turned back to her coffee. Can we talk? I'm busy. Alyssa. I'm here to work, that's it. She grabbed her coffee, walked past him, felt his eyes on her back the whole way to the elevator. Her hands were shaking when she got back to her desk. The afternoon crawled. She buried herself in spreadsheets and market reports and zoning regulations for properties she'd never seen. Anything to not think about Sebastian standing in that doorway like he had something to say that would make any of this okay. At 5, Marcus stopped by her desk. How's it going? Good. Making progress. Don't stay too late. This isn't that kind of place anymore. Not on my watch. She left at 6. Drove home through traffic that moved in fits and starts. At her apartment, she changed into comfortable clothes and ordered Thai food she couldn't really afford, but needed anyway. Simone called while she was eating pad Thai straight from the container. So, how was it? Fine. Just fine? I saw him. Sebastian. He wanted to talk. I didn't. Good. He doesn't deserve your time. I know. Alyssa set down her fork. But I keep thinking, what if he actually wants to apologize? Like really apologize? Then he can put it in a memo and have HR deliver it. You don't owe him a conversation. Simone was right. She usually was. But that didn't stop Alyssa from wondering what Sebastian had wanted to say. The next 2 weeks fell into a rhythm. Work, home, work, home. She avoided Sebastian. Wasn't hard. He was on 43, she was on 37, and Marcus made sure their paths didn't cross. The Callahan assessment came together. She found inefficiencies, identified risks, proposed solutions that actually made sense. Marcus reviewed her work, made notes, sent it back with changes that improved everything. This is solid, he said on Friday afternoon. Really solid. I'm sending it to the executive team. Does that include? Yes. Sebastian will see it. That a problem? No. It was. That night she couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about Sebastian reading her work. Kept wondering if he'd see it and feel something. Regret maybe, or respect, or nothing at all. Her phone buzzed at midnight. Unknown number. Your assessment is excellent. I knew you were good. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. She stared at the message. Started typing. Stopped. Started again. Don't text me. I'm trying to apologize. You fired me. Humiliated me. Followed me. And now you want credit for letting me come back. That's not an apology. That's ego. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. You're right. I'm sorry. For all of it. She turned off her phone. In the morning there was a coffee on her desk. The good kind from the place on 6th Street. Still hot. A note attached. I'm sorry. Alyssa picked up the cup. Smelled it. Caramel latte, extra shot. The exact order she'd gotten every morning before she couldn't afford it anymore. He'd remembered. She threw it away. The coffee kept coming. Every morning for a week. Same cup, same order, same note. I'm sorry. Alyssa threw away the first 3. The 4th one she left on her desk until it went cold. The 5th one she actually considered drinking before remembering who it was from and dumping it in the sink. On the 6th day she walked into the break room at 7:30 and Sebastian was there. Actually, there, making coffee. Like a normal person who didn't have assistants to do that. She almost turned around. Please don't leave, he said. Not looking at her, just staring at the coffee maker like it required his full attention. I'm not doing this. I know. You've made that clear. He poured his coffee. I just wanted to say in person that I was wrong. About everything. The way I fired you. The texts. Showing up at your place. All of it. Alyssa stayed in the doorway. Okay. That's it? Okay? What do you want me to say? That it's fine? That we're good now? She crossed her arms. You humiliated me, in front of everyone, and now you're buying me coffee like that fixes it? I don't think it fixes it. He set down his mug. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never been good at apologies. Yeah, I noticed. He almost smiled, caught himself. Can I at least explain? No. She grabbed a mug from the cabinet, poured coffee that was too hot and tasted like it had been sitting there since yesterday. Sebastian watched her. She could feel it. I panicked, he said anyway. When you told me about the error, I have this thing where He stopped. My father. He ran this company before me, made bad decisions, lost clients, nearly destroyed everything, and I've spent the last 10 years trying to prove I'm not him. So when you made that mistake, small as it was, I just saw your father. Alyssa turned to face him and decided I had to pay for his failures. Yeah, that's not fair. I know. The coffee maker beeped. Finished brewing. Neither of them moved. "I saw you at the club," Sebastian said, "with that guy. And you looked," he paused, "free, like you weren't carrying anything. And I realized you'd moved on. From the job, from me firing you, from all of it. And I couldn't. That's not my problem. I know that too." He picked up his mug. "I'm not asking you to forgive me, or even talk to me. I just needed you to know that I see it now, how badly I messed up." He walked past her, stopped at the door. "For what it's worth, your work is exceptional. Marcus is right to believe in you." Then he was gone. Alyssa stood there, coffee burning her hand through the mug, trying to figure out what she was supposed to do with that. The next morning, there was no coffee on her desk. She told herself she was relieved. Marcus called her into his office that afternoon. "Executive meeting Thursday. You're presenting the Callahan assessment." "Me? I thought you were—" "You did the work. You present it." He leaned back in his chair. "Sebastian will be there. That going to be a problem?" "No." "You sure? Because if you need me to—" "I'm fine, really." She wasn't fine. Thursday morning arrived too fast. Alyssa spent an hour on her hair, twisting it into a low bun that looked professional and polished. Wore her best suit, navy blue, fitted, the one she'd bought for interviews and saved for important days. Her hands shook while she did her makeup. Simone texted, "You got this?" Her mama texted, "Praying for you, baby?" At 9:50, she gathered her materials and took the elevator to 43. The executive conference room was all glass and expensive furniture and views that made LA look like a painting. Marcus was already there. So was Jennifer, 3 other executives she'd seen around but never met. And Sebastian, at the head of the table, same seat he'd occupied when he fired her. "Ms. Grant." He nodded, professional, distant. "Whenever you're ready." She set up her laptop, pulled up her presentation, took a breath that didn't quite fill her lungs. "The Callahan portfolio currently holds 23 commercial properties across California," she began. "Total valuation of $470 million. My assessment identified 3 primary risk factors." She walked them through the data. Market trends, occupancy rates, maintenance projections. Her voice stayed steady even though her heart was trying to break out of her chest. Sebastian asked questions, technical ones, fair ones, like she was anyone else presenting, not the woman he'd fired 6 weeks ago. "The Oakland property," he said. "You're recommending we sell?" "Yes. The neighborhood's gentrifying, but the building's old. Renovations would cost more than it's worth. Better to sell now while the market's high." "And take a short-term loss?" "To avoid a long-term problem." He made a note. "Continue." She finished 15 minutes later, closed her laptop, waited. Marcus spoke first. "This is excellent work, thorough, conservative where it needs to be. I say we move forward with her recommendations." The other executives agreed, one by one, until everyone was looking at Sebastian. "I agree," he said. "Implement it. All of it." His eyes met hers. "Well done, Ms. Grant." "Thank you." The meeting ended. People filed out. Alyssa packed up her laptop, her hands finally steady. "Alyssa." She turned. Sebastian stood by the windows. "That was—" He paused. "I've seen a lot of presentations. That was one of the best. Thanks. I mean it." He walked closer. Not too close. Just enough that she could see the gray at his temples, the lines at the corners of his eyes. "You're going to do great things here, with or without my approval." "I know." Something changed in his expression. Softened, maybe. Or broke. "I really am sorry," he said quietly. Alyssa looked at him. At this man who'd held her career in his hands and crushed it, who'd followed her and texted her, and bought her coffee like apologies could be purchased. Who was standing here now looking at her like she was the only person in the room? "I know you are," she said. She walked out. In the elevator she let herself breathe, let herself feel the adrenaline drain away, let herself admit that seeing Sebastian look at her like that, with respect, with something that might have been pride, felt better than it should have. Her phone buzzed. "Marcus, drinks tonight, team celebration. You earned it. She smiled. I'll be there outside Sebastian's office. She could hear him on a call, his voice carrying through the glass walls. Something about quarterly projections and risk mitigation. She kept walking. The bar was in Culver City, one of those places with exposed brick and craft cocktails that cost $18. Alyssa nursed a gin and tonic, while Marcus told stories about business school that got progressively more embarrassing as he worked through his second whiskey. And then Sebastian, this is before he was CEO Sebastian, when he was just regular insufferable Sebastian, walks into our corporate finance final wearing a suit. A full suit. Rest of us are in hoodies, and he shows up looking like he's about to close a merger. Jennifer laughed. That tracks. What happened? Alyssa asked. He aced it, obviously, then took us all out for drinks and got so drunk he cried about his father for an hour. Marcus shook his head. Man's had daddy issues since day one. Alyssa sipped her drink. Tried not to think about Sebastian in the break room saying, I see my father. Tried not to care. Anyway, Marcus raised his glass. To Alyssa, for doing work that actually matters and putting up with this place. They clinked glasses. Alyssa felt the gin warm in her chest. Her phone buzzed. She ignored it. It buzzed again. Simone, how's the celebration? Good. Tipsy, you deserve it, have fun. Everything okay? Marcus asked. Yeah, just Simone checking in. She's the one who threatened to call the cops on Sebastian, right? You heard about that? I hear about everything. He grinned. She sounds like a good friend. The best. They stayed another hour. Marcus bought a round. Jennifer left early because she had Pilates at 7. The bartender started wiping down tables in that way. That meant they should probably go. Outside, the air had that cool edge that LA got at night. Alyssa stood on the sidewalk, waiting for her Uber, feeling pleasantly disconnected from everything. Need a ride? She turned. Sebastian stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, looking uncertain in a way she'd never seen before. I called an Uber. Cancel it. I'm heading toward Inglewood anyway. No, you're not. Okay, I'm not, but I'd like to give you a ride. He paused. Please. She should say no. Should get in her Uber and go home and not complicate things more than they already were. Fine. His car was parked in the lot behind the bar. The Tesla she'd seen before. Still looked new. Still probably cost more than her student loans. She got in. The seats were leather, heated. The kind of comfortable that made her realize how uncomfortable her own car was. Sebastian started driving. Didn't put on music, didn't talk, just drove through Culver City toward the 10. You were good today, he said finally. In the presentation. You said that already. I know, but I meant it. He glanced over. Marcus was right to bring you back. I know that too. A smile almost happened. Confident. I like that. I learned it from you, right before you fired me. The smile died. Fair. They merged onto the freeway. Traffic was light. The city lights blurred past, orange and white and red. Can I ask you something? Sebastian said. Depends on the question. Why'd you come back? Really, after everything? Alyssa looked out the window. Because I needed the job. Because the work is good. Because... She stopped. Because I refuse to let you be the reason I don't succeed. That's... He paused. That's probably the most honest thing anyone's said to me in years. People don't talk to you honestly. Not usually. They tell me what they think I want to hear. Must be lonely. He didn't respond, just drove, his hands on the wheel. The road ahead, empty. They took the exit for Inglewood. Sebastian didn't need directions. He remembered from before. From when he'd shown up at her apartment like some kind of... She didn't even know what to call it. He pulled up outside her complex. Put the car in park. Didn't turn off the engine. Thank you, Alyssa said, for the ride. Wait. He turned to face her. I need to tell you something. Sebastian, I can't stop thinking about you. The words hung there, heavy, impossible. You fired me, she said. I know. You humiliated me. I know. And now you're telling me you've been thinking about me? Yes. He ran a hand through his hair. I know how it sounds. I know I have no right, but I see you at work and I—" He stopped. "I don't know what this is, but it's been there since that first meeting, since you stood in my office and told me you could fix your mistake instead of making excuses." Alyssa's chest felt tight. "That doesn't mean anything. It means something to me." She should get out, should walk away, should not be sitting in Sebastian Rowe's car at 10 p.m. letting him say things that made her chest hurt. "I don't trust you," she said. "I don't blame you. And I don't forgive you, not completely. I understand. So, what do you want? What is this?" He looked at her, really looked, those blue eyes that had dismissed her so easily now holding her, like she was the only thing that mattered. "I want a chance," he said quietly, "to prove I'm not just the man who fired you, to show you I can be better." "That's not how this works. You don't get to hurt people and then ask for chances." "I know, but I'm asking anyway." He reached over, stopped himself. "I'm not good at this, at feelings or apologies or any of it, but I'm trying." The car felt too small, the air too thin. "I need to go," Alyssa said. She got out, closed the door, walked to her building without looking back. Inside her apartment, she leaned against the door, tried to breathe, tried to think. Her phone buzzed. "Sebastian, I meant what I said." She stared at the message. Those 5 words that shouldn't mean anything. She didn't respond, but she didn't delete it either. In the morning there was coffee on her desk again. Same order, different note. "Thank you for listening." Alyssa picked up the cup. It was still warm. She took a sip. It tasted perfect. She hated that. 2 weeks passed like that. Coffee in the morning, brief conversations in the hallway. Sebastian asking about her projects like he didn't have a dozen other analysts to keep track of. Alyssa pretending it didn't affect her. It was affecting her. "You're smiling at your phone," Simone said. They were having lunch at the Ralph's Deli in Baldwin Hills because neither of them could afford actual restaurants anymore. "I'm not." "You are." "What's he saying?" "Nothing. Just—" Alyssa set down her phone. "He sent me an article about commercial real estate trends, said he thought I'd find it interesting." "That's the most boring flirting I've ever heard." "It's not flirting. Girl, please." Simone took a bite of her sandwich. "He's a billionaire CEO texting you about real estate. That's absolutely flirting." "He's trying to be professional. If he wanted professional, he'd send it through the company system, not to your personal phone at 8 p.m. on a Saturday." She pointed her sandwich at Alyssa. "You like him?" "I don't." "You're lying." Alyssa picked at her salad. "I don't trust him." "That's different from not liking him." "He fired me, Simone. Publicly. After 3 days. That's not someone I should—" She stopped. "I can't do this." "Why not?" "Because what if it happens again? What if I mess up and he just—" She set down her fork. "I can't give him that power over me again." Simone reached across the table, grabbed her hand. "Then don't. Set boundaries. Make him earn it. But don't write off something that could be good because you're scared. When'd you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just don't listen." Monday morning, Marcus called her into his office. New project, big one. He slid a folder across the desk. "Expansion into Arizona, Phoenix, specifically. We're looking at a mixed-use development, residential, commercial, retail. I need you to run point." "Me?" "You. Full assessment, market analysis, risk evaluation, the works." He leaned back. "This could be career-making, Alyssa, or career-breaking, no pressure." She opened the folder. Pages of preliminary data, property listings, market reports. "When do you need it?" 6 weeks, and you'll be presenting to the board, including Sebastian." Of course, she spent the next 3 weeks buried in work. Site visits to Phoenix where the heat made LA feel like winter. Meetings with local developers who talked too fast and expected her to keep up. Spreadsheets that multiplied like they had a life of their own. Sebastian texted occasionally, never about work, always something random. "Did you see the sunset tonight? There's a taco truck on Olympic that has the best al pastor, just in case you need sustenance." "How's Arizona treating you?" she responded. Short answers. But she responded. The night before her presentation, she couldn't sleep. Lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through her slides in her head, trying not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. Her phone buzzed. 2 a.m. Sebastian, you're awake, aren't you? How did you know I'm awake too? Nervous? Terrified. Don't be. You're the best analyst we have. The board will see that. She stared at the message, at the confidence he had in her that she didn't have in herself. Thank you, get some sleep. You'll be brilliant tomorrow. She fell asleep with her phone in her hand. The boardroom was different from the executive conference room. Bigger, more windows, a table that looked like it cost more than her car and her apartment combined. 12 board members, all men except 2, all white except Marcus, all looking at her like they were trying to figure out if she belonged there. Sebastian sat at the head of the table. He nodded once when she walked in. Ms. Grant, one of the board members said. Anthony something, she'd seen his name on the company website. We're eager to hear your assessment. She pulled up her presentation, took a breath. The Phoenix market represents a significant opportunity, she began. Population growth is steady. Commercial development is expanding. But there are risks we need to address. She walked them through everything. Demographics, economic trends, competition analysis. Her voice stayed level even though her heart was trying to escape through her throat. Questions came fast. Technical, challenging. She answered each one, drew on her research, stood her ground when they pushed back. You're recommending we don't move forward? Anthony asked. Not yet. The market's strong, but the timing's wrong. Real estate prices are inflated. If we wait 18 months, we can enter at a better position. That's a long time to wait. It's a longer time to recover from a bad investment. Silence. The board members looked at each other, at Sebastian. I agree with Ms. Grant, he said. Her research is sound. We wait. Anthony frowned. That's leaving money on the table. That's avoiding risk, which is what we pay analysts to help us do. Sebastian closed his folder. Motion to table the Arizona expansion for review in 18 months. All in favor? The vote was unanimous. Alyssa packed up her laptop. Her hands were shaking now that it was over. That was impressive, Marcus said as she walked out. Really impressive. Thank you. Sebastian wants to see you. His office. Her stomach tightened. Now? Now. She took the elevator to 43. His assistant waved her through. Sebastian stood by the windows, looking out at LA like he always did when he was thinking. You were right, he said without turning. About Phoenix, about the timing, about all of it. Thank you. I'm proud of you. He turned to face her. I know I don't have the right to be, but I am. Something in her chest cracked. Sebastian, have dinner with me. What? Dinner, tonight. Not as your boss, as... He paused. As someone who'd really like to spend time with you outside of conference rooms and presentations. I don't think that's a good idea. Probably not. He walked closer. But I'm asking anyway. She should say no, should maintain boundaries, should protect herself from whatever this was becoming. One dinner, she said. One dinner. And if it's terrible, then it's terrible and we never speak of it again. He almost smiled. But it won't be. You're very confident. Not really. I'm terrified. He said it like an admission, like the truth. But I'd rather be terrified with you than comfortable without you. Alyssa looked at him, at this man who'd broken her and was now standing here asking her to trust him again. 7 o'clock, she said. And you're picking the place. Somewhere nice. Deal. She walked out, made it to the elevator before she let herself smile. Her phone buzzed. Sebastian, I can't wait. Neither could she. The restaurant was in Malibu, right on the water, the kind of place where they didn't list prices on the menu and the hostess called you by name. Alyssa wore the red dress, the one from the club. It still felt like too much. Sebastian stood when she approached the table. Dark suit, no tie, hair that looked like he'd run his hands through it too many times. You look... He stopped. I don't have words. That's a first. He smiled. Pulled out her chair, sat across from her like this was a normal dinner between normal people who had a normal history. "I ordered wine," he said, "but I can send it back if you want something else." "Wine's good," the server poured. They sat in silence for a moment. The ocean outside the windows dark and endless. The restaurant hummed with quiet conversation and the clink of silverware. "I don't know how to do this," Sebastian said finally. "Do what?" "This, dating being normal. I was married for 5 years, and I don't think we ever just—" He gestured at the table. "Had dinner without talking about work or schedules or why she was unhappy." "Why was she unhappy?" "Because I gave her everything except time." He took a sip of wine. "She left 3 years ago. Married someone else. Has a kid now. Last I heard, she's happy." "And you?" "I threw myself into work, built the company bigger, made more money, tried to prove I was worth something." He looked at her. "And then I fired the one person who made me feel anything in years." Alyssa's chest tightened. "Sebastian, I'm not saying that to make you feel sorry for me. I'm saying it because you asked why I've been so—" He paused. "Desperate. That's the word. I've been desperate to fix this, to fix us, because I finally felt something real, and I destroyed it in 3 days." The server came, took their order, left. "I'm scared," Alyssa said quietly, "that you'll do it again, that I'll mess up and you'll—" She stopped. "I can't go through that twice." "I know." He reached across the table, stopped himself. "I can't promise I won't mess up, I probably will, but I can promise I'll never make you feel small again, never make you question your worth." His voice cracked slightly. "You're extraordinary, Alyssa. And I'm so sorry it took me so long to see it." She looked at his hand, hovering between them. Uncertain. She took it, his fingers wrapped around hers, warm, solid, real. "One chance," she said. "That's all you get. One chance is all I need." They ate. Talked about everything except work. She told him about Cal State, about working 2 jobs and studying in the library until it closed, about her mama who still called every morning, and her best friend who threatened to kill anyone who hurt her. He told her about his father, about growing up with money that meant nothing because his father was never there, about business school where he met Marcus and learned that maybe he didn't have to be like his father after all. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "Building the company, the hours, the pressure, every day and never?" He smiled. "It's who I am. But maybe it doesn't have to be all I am." After dinner they walked on the beach. She took off her heels, carried them. The sand was cold, the ocean loud. "I saw you dancing," Sebastian said. "At the club, with that guy. And I wanted to—" He laughed. "I don't even know. Punch him. Drag you away, something caveman and ridiculous. You were jealous. Insanely. Good." She bumped his shoulder. "You should have been." He stopped walking, turned to face her. The moon was bright enough to see his expression clearly. Something raw, open. "I'm falling for you," he said. "I know it's too soon. I know I don't deserve it. But I am." Her breath caught. The ocean crashed behind them. The wind pulled at her hair. "I'm scared," she said. "Me too. What if this doesn't work? Then we'll have tried, and maybe that's enough." He reached up, brushed a strand of hair from her face. "But I think it will. I think we will." She rose up on her toes, kissed him. His arms came around her, pulled her close. The kiss deepened, soft and then urgent, like they'd been holding back for months and finally couldn't anymore. When they pulled apart, she was breathless. "That was—" Sebastian started. "Yeah." They drove back to LA with the windows down and the radio playing something neither of them paid attention to. He held her hand the whole way, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. At her apartment, he walked her to the door. "Can I see you tomorrow?" he asked. "You'll see me at work." "That's not what I meant." She smiled. "I know." "Yes, tomorrow." He kissed her again, soft this time, sweet. "Good night, Alyssa. Good night." Inside, she leaned against the door, tried to calm her racing heart. Her phone buzzed immediately. "Simone." How is it perfect details now tomorrow, I promise. Sebastian texted, I can't stop smiling. People are going to think I've lost my mind. Maybe you have, definitely have, and I don't care. She fell asleep still smiling. In the morning there was no coffee on her desk. Instead, Sebastian was standing there, holding 2 cups from the good place on 6th Street. Figured I'd deliver it personally this time, he said. Marcus walked by, stopped, looked at them, looked at the coffee, looked at Sebastian's expression. Finally, he muttered. Kept walking. Alyssa took the coffee. People are going to talk. Let them. Sebastian leaned closer. I'm done pretending I don't care about you. In the office? Really? Everywhere. He smiled. Get used to it. She should have been annoyed, should have worried about appearances and professionalism and what people would say. Instead, she kissed him, right there, in front of everyone. When she pulled back, Jennifer was staring. Michael looked shocked. 3 other analysts were trying not to smile. Now they'll definitely talk, Alyssa said. Good. Sebastian touched her face. I'll see you at lunch. You will. He walked away. She sat at her desk, opened her laptop, tried to focus on work. Her phone buzzed. Sebastian. That kiss in front of everyone? Hottest thing you've ever done. She laughed, typed back, just wait. The coffee was perfect. The morning was perfect. Everything was, for the first time in months, everything was exactly right. 18 months later. The Phoenix project broke ground on a Tuesday morning in October. Alyssa stood on the empty lot, hard hat on, clipboard in hand, watching the construction crew mark out where the foundation would go. The Arizona sun was brutal even at 9 a.m., the kind of heat that made LA feel like a vacation. Sebastian stood next to her, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. You were right, he said, about waiting. Prices dropped 12% since your presentation. I know. Confident. I learned from the best. She smiled, bumped his arm. Even if he was a terrible boss for about 3 days, I'm never living that down, am I? Not even a little bit. They'd been together for 1 year and 2 months now. Started officially after that dinner in Malibu, 8 months after she'd returned to work. 8 months of rebuilding trust before he'd asked her out. Then 1 year and 2 months of morning coffees and late-night texts, and learning how to be 2 people who worked together and loved each other without letting one destroy the other. It wasn't always easy. Sebastian still worked too much. Alyssa still worried he'd see her as disposable. They'd had fights, real ones, about boundaries and time and whether she'd ever really forgiven him. But they were trying. Both of them. Every day. Ms. Grant. She turned. Marcus stood there, grinning like he knew something she didn't. Mr. Reed. Got a minute? My office. In his office, he gestured for her to sit, closed the door. I've been authorized to offer you a promotion, he said. Senior analyst, your own team, 20% raise, and your own office on 40. Alyssa's breath caught. Seriously? The board voted this morning, unanimous. He smiled. You've earned this. Every bit of it. She didn't have words. Thank you. Don't thank me. You did the work. He leaned back. Although between you and me, Sebastian's been campaigning for this for weeks. Wouldn't shut up about how brilliant you are. Her chest felt warm. He didn't tell me, because he wanted you to earn it on your own, which you did. Marcus extended his hand. Congratulations, Senior Analyst Grant. She shook his hand, felt tears prick at her eyes, refused to let them fall. Thank you. You earned it. Now get out of here. Go celebrate. She found Sebastian in his office. He was on the phone but waved her in. She waited until he hung up. I got promoted, she said. I know, Marcus told me. He stood, walked around his desk. Congratulations. Did you have anything to do with it? No. That was all Marcus, all you. He smiled. But I'm proud of you anyway. She kissed him, right there in his office with the door open and anyone could see. Thank you, she said, for giving me a second chance, for giving us a second chance. Thank you for taking it. He pulled her closer. I love you. The words hung there, heavy, real. She stopped, started again. I love you too. He kissed her, soft and deep and full of promise. That night, they had dinner at her mama's house in View Park. Her mama had been skeptical when Alyssa first told her about Sebastian, about the man who'd fired her daughter, and then decided he wanted her back. But then she'd met him, watched the way he looked at Alyssa, the way he listened when she talked, the way he helped clear the table without being asked. "He's all right," her mama had said after that first dinner. High praise. Now Sebastian sat at the table like he belonged there, passing plates, laughing at her uncle's terrible jokes, asking her mama about her garden. Simone was there too, still protective, still watching Sebastian like she was waiting for him to mess up, but softer now, almost friendly. "So, when are you making this official?" Simone asked, looking between them. "We are official," Alyssa said. "I mean like official. Her mama smiled, didn't say anything, just kept eating. Sebastian looked at Alyssa. Something passed between them, understanding, timing. "Soon," he said, "when the time's right." After dinner, they drove back to Sebastian's place in Santa Monica, the condo he'd bought after his divorce, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of the ocean. Alyssa had her own place still. The apartment in Inglewood with the squeaky stairs, and the neighbors who played music too loud. But she spent most nights here, in Sebastian's space that had slowly become their space. They stood on the balcony, the ocean dark and endless below them, the city lights spreading out behind them like proof that the world kept turning. "I meant what I said," Sebastian said, "about soon. I know. I want to marry you. I want—" He paused. "I want to build a life with you, a real one, not just this. This is real. I know, but I want more." He turned to face her. "I want morning coffee and terrible traffic and arguments about whose turn it is to do dishes. I want to wake up next to you every day and fall asleep knowing you're there." Her eyes stung. "Sebastian, I'm not asking yet. Not tonight, but I'm telling you—" His voice cracked slightly. "I'm telling you that you changed everything. You made me want to be better, to do better, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of that." She kissed him, tasted salt, realized she was crying. "You already are," she whispered. "You already are." They stood there, the ocean loud below them, the city humming behind them. Two people who'd found each other in the worst way and decided to make it the best thing. 6 months later, Sebastian proposed on the beach in Malibu, the same beach where they'd walked after their first date, where he'd told her he was falling for her and she'd been too scared to say it back. She said yes before he finished the question. They got married on a Saturday in June. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. Her mama cried. Simone stood next to her as maid of honor. Marcus was Sebastian's best man. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Sebastian pulled her close and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for not giving up on us," she whispered back. They kissed. The ocean crashed behind them, their futures stretched out ahead. And in the end, it wasn't about the mistake that got her fired, or the man who couldn't stop thinking about her dancing with someone else. It was about two people who learned that sometimes the worst moments become the beginning of the best things. That forgiveness isn't weakness, it's strength. That love isn't about being perfect, it's about choosing each other anyway. Alyssa had walked into that glass tower on Wilshire Boulevard, scared and uncertain and desperate to prove she belonged. She'd walked out knowing she did. Not because of the job or the title or the office on 40, but because she'd learned that her worth wasn't determined by other people's opinions. Not even Sebastian's. Especially not Sebastian's. She'd earned her place, every bit of it. And the love she'd found along the way, that was just the bonus. The end final message. Sometimes we meet the right person at the wrong time. Sometimes we meet them at the worst possible time. And sometimes, if we're brave enough to forgive and strong enough to try, those wrong moments become the foundation for something beautiful. Alyssa and Sebastian's story started with a firing that felt like the end of everything. It became a love story about second chances, earned respect, and the courage to be vulnerable. Because the truth is, anyone can walk away. It takes someone special to stay, to fight, to choose love even when it's hard, even when it starts with a mistake. Question for you. Have you ever had a second chance with someone, whether in love, friendship, or career, that completely changed your life? Or are you still waiting for yours? Drop your story in the comments. Let's talk about the power of second chances and the moments that changed everything. Thanks for sticking with us through Alyssa and Sebastian's journey. If you loved their story, smash that subscribe button and let us know in the comments. Do you believe in second chances? We'll see you in the next story. Peace out.